Last time, we practiced deciding if a source is primary or secondary. A reminder that primary sources are something that was created during an event or by someone who was there, and a secondary source is something created after an event or by someone who wasn't there. Now, we can actually tell if a source is mostly fact or mostly opinion. So, a fact, remember, means it's the truth. We can prove that it's correct. An opinion is more of what someone believes. So, the first thing we will want to do to decide if something is mostly fact or mostly opinion is actually figure out some of the background information about the source. So, we call this sourcing. And you might have seen this picture over here on the right on the back of your Thinking Like a Social Scientist cards. So when we're sourcing something, we want to figure out the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So who created it? What is it? When was it created? Where was it created? Why was it created? And how was it created? So let's look at our first item from our Norman Borlaug text set. And that, of course, is a picture here of Norman Borlaug. So what we'll want to do is go through these questions and put in our answers. So our first question is who created it? Now, when we're looking at it, it's a picture of Norman Borlaug. We can guess he probably didn't take it, but who would have? Now, a good guess would be maybe someone who was working with him, or perhaps a journalist who was doing a news article about him. Now, our what is it is a little bit easier. We can tell just by looking at this that this is a picture. So that's it. That's all we say for what is it. When was it created? This one can be a little bit trickier, especially if you don't know the answer. So, what we need to do is we need to look at clues. And clues for us could be what the person in the picture is wearing, or what the background is, or even parts about the picture itself. So, if we look at the clothes Norman Borlaug is wearing, does this look like clothes made today? Or are they clothes maybe made a little bit back in time? The other thing I notice is that this picture is in black and white. It's not a color photograph. And black and white pictures happened, a few decades ago. Based on those two clues, I would guess that this picture was taken or it was created in the 1940s or 1950s. Now, where was it created? I would just look at the background of the picture. The best information we can get is that it was taken in a wheat field. We can see that he's in a field and the crop in there is wheat. Now, I don't know where beyond that. I don't know if this was in America or in Mexico or in China. All I know is that he's in a wheat field. So the next thing we want to find out is why was it created? And when you think about the why, you want to think about why someone took this picture. Usually, the reason why someone takes a picture is either to document what is happening or to be able to share information about someone or something. So I put down that it was created to share information about Borlaug's life. And then, how was it created? Well, if it was a picture, it was more than likely taken with a camera. So the next one we're going to look at is the timeline. And again, we'll do the same thing. We'll answer the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So let's start with who created it. Do you think Norman Borlaug created this timeline? Or do you think someone else? Our best guess for this is that it would have been created by a researcher or someone who wanted to share information about Borlaug's life, like maybe a social science teacher or a scientist, or even someone who is creating a textbook or a book about Norman Borlaug. So then our what is it question? Well, we know, of course, that it is a timeline. If we didn't know this ahead of time, what we could do is look at it and see that we have dates and there is a line and it goes in order chronologically, meaning The earliest thing happens first, and then the next, and the next, and the next. So this is a timeline. Our next question is, when was it created? Well, let's use our clues on the timeline. So if we look at the years near the bottom, we have 2006, 2009, and 2014. We know that this timeline had to have been made after March 25th of 2014. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to put this information on the timeline. Where was it created? This one is kind of tricky. It doesn't really give us a good bit of information as to where it was created. We could guess because it's written in English that it was created in a country by people who speak English, but that doesn't narrow it down for us a whole lot. So in this case, we really can't answer where was it created. So the next thing would be the why was it created? And we kind of already answered this under our who created it. This would have been created by someone who wants to share information about Borlaug's life. That's the whole purpose of this timeline, is to share information. And our final question is, how was it created? Now, when we look at this, it's typed. It's not handwritten, so that tells us that it was created using a computer. And it was also probably created after doing quite a bit of research about Norman Borlaug. So perhaps they used books or photographs or maps even to be able to find out more information. Now, our next one that we're going to do is the last one, which we know is an article. So we can already answer the what is it question. And this source is a little bit nicer in figuring out all this information because at the bottom here, they gave us a lot of the information. Source, this article, okay, so that's what it is, was modified from the blog Why You Should Know the Name Norman Borlaug. It was posted by Scott Elliott of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture on February 21st of 2017. So we know our who created it. Our who created it is Scott Elliott. We also know our when it was created. It says right here, it was created February 21st of 2017. We also know where it was created. It says the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. The next question is, why was it created? Now, this article, it says, was modified from a blog, Why You Should Know the Name Norman Borlaug. So it sounds to me like Scott Elliott wants to give us information on why we should know Norman Borlaug. That's our why it was created. The how it was created is obviously on the computer. If it came from an article from a blog is information that you find on a computer. So that's where we would put it. The next thing that you will do is the activity deciding if it is fact or opinion. So on each of these three sources that we did, you will go through and decide if the source is mostly fact or opinion. I'm going to give you a big hint. If it is something like this, where it's a picture, most of the time it is going to be fact because it is just giving us information that we see. An opinion, remember, will be if something it cannot be proven true. A fact we can always prove true. So think about what we would find on this timeline here. Can these items be proven true? If they can, they would be mostly fact. If they can't, it would be opinion. The article, same thing. The statements made in here, are they mostly fact or mostly opinion? You might have to go through and mark the different sentences to decide.